What's up, everyone? In today's video, we're ranking all 30 MLB teams, and we're going through each division, going from first place to last place. I think it should be good. Okay, so first here we're starting off with the New York Yankees, and I think we can go look at their depth chart and see what's going on there. So, in the lineup, we're having a pretty good lineup here. We have some aging players in the lineup, but they added Juan Soto. Austin Wells is going to be playing most days behind the dish with Trevino backing him up. Judge hopefully will have another good year. We got Verdugo, who's a pretty nice addition, good defender, and we have Trent Grisham as maybe a late game defensive upgrade, as well as some other good players that can come off the bench. In terms of the rotation, that's where this scares me a little bit, because we got Cole, the Cy Young winner, but the rest of it might be a little shaky, like Carlos Rodon with a 6.85 ERA last year. Marcus Stroman had a pretty good year last year, but tailed off towards the end, got injured. Cortez was injured a lot last year. Schmidt was a bit inconsistent, so hopefully we can have some of those players bounce back, be better next year, so that we can have a better starting rotation. And we're having some pretty good projections here. Rodon with a bounce back year. Stroman a pretty good year. I think if these predictions turn out to be true, we'll have a pretty good rotation. And we got a nice bullpen here. Maybe a little worse than last year, but we still got the closer Clay Holmes. We got the addition of Caleb Ferguson. Scott Efros is coming off the IL after Tommy John surgery. He looked good back in 2022. We got Victor Gonzalez from the Dodgers, and as well as guys like Canely, Hamilton. I think it'll be still a very good bullpen. With that being said, there's a lot needs to go right for this Yankees team to do well. So I think we can't put them in first place here. We got to put them in second place. And next up here, we got the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays are an interesting team, so we always doubt them, but let's see, where are the Rays? Here's the Rays. So we still got a really good lineup. Yandy Diaz, Randy Arozarena, Isaac Paredes. A really good lineup. They do not have the player who shall not be named anymore, but I think this is still a very, very good lineup. You can see these projected stats are that they're pretty high on the Rays here. But this rotation is a bit worrying. If I was a Rays fan, having Zach Littell as your 3-starter is a bit scary. A lot of young guys at the back of this rotation need to step up. Losing Tyler Glasnow, not having Shane McClanahan is obviously not great for this team. So I think they'll be a little worse than in previous years due to not having Glasnow, McClanahan. Some good projected stats here, but I think a bit worse than before. And I think we're going to have to give them a third place finish here. Next, we got the Blue Jays. Blue Jays are interesting. They were in on Blake Snell, who hasn't signed yet. No Cody Bellinger, but he has been connected to them in recent days. So we still got a good lineup here. Springer's getting a bit older. Guerrero had a down year. Nice addition in Justin Turner, but he's like 39 years old now. Might not be able to replicate the success he had last year. I think we got like a pretty good lineup. I mean, it's not as good as it once was with Springer getting older, Vladdy not doing as well last year, but I still think that this can be a very potent offense if working. And we also have some good bench pieces here. But where they really shine is in the rotation. We got Gosman, Brios, Bassett, Kikuchi, and Manoah. Manoah wasn't great last year, but even without him, they had a very, very strong rotation. Gosman, Cy Young candidate, Brios, bounce back year, and they are projected to do well again. I think they could even outperform these numbers here. And as for the bullpen, nothing super special. They added Yariel Rodriguez, really intriguing player from Cuba. And we still got these other guys, Jordan Romano, Chad Green's coming back, Genesis Cabrera, a lot of guys who can do well. With that being said, I think the Blue Jays are This is really tough. I won't do this for most divisions, but the AL is such a tight division. I think we're also going to give them a third place finish, even though obviously only one team finished in third place. So next up here we got the Baltimore Orioles, a really fascinating team, 101 wins last year. And let's see what we're looking at for next year. Let's see, where are them Orioles? Okay. And obviously you got an insane lineup: Henderson, Rutschman, Santander, Hearn, a lot of great guys. Ryan Mountcastle in the 7th spot. I mean, this is just really good all around. I mean, and we got Jackson Holliday probably coming up at some point. I think this should be a really, really good lineup, just like last year. And this rotation, like, much improved with the addition of Corbin Burns. Fell apart in the playoffs, didn't have the best pitching, but this is projected to be a really, really good starting rotation next year. And taking the weight off some of the young guys to pitch well, I think will help them a lot too. And also we got this great bullpen. I mean, Yenner Cano going to step up into the closer spot along with a lot of other good guys here. I mean, I'm thinking the Orioles are going to have another first place finish this year, probably around 100 wins again as well. Next up here we got the Boston Red Sox here. I mean, this team just isn't really that good, honestly, in this such a competitive division. And we got like a pretty good lineup, a lot of young guys though, proven guys. Trevor Story, we'll see how he does come back from injury. Hopefully he's better. I mean, Devers is really good as usual. Casas and Duran, some good young players. Masataka Yoshida had a great year last year, but there's a lot of holes towards the bottom of this lineup. A lot of guys you might not trust to replicate some success that last year. And the rotation just is not looking that good. If you're looking at these projections, it's not good. Giolito, the ace, he had like a 4.50 ERA last year. Wasn't good. Brian Bayo does project to be a pretty good pitcher, but if that's the only good guy you got in your rotation, I'm not going to trust them to do too well next year. So I think they're going to be a last place team. So next up, we got to hurry up with these rankings, man. This is kind of taking a while. So next up, we got the Seattle Mariners. The Mariners are an interesting team, right? They missed out on the playoffs last year, and I think they can do a lot better this year. They added Jorge Polanco, Mitch Garver, some good bats. That lineup that struck out a lot last year. I think a contact guy like Polanco in the lineup is really good. You still got J.P. Crawford, who had a great year. Cal Raleigh is really good. Ty France was good a couple years ago. Mitch Haniger is back. You got a lot of good players. Jerry DePoto, the trade king, back at it again. And we also got this amazing rotation headed by Luis Castillo, young guys like Logan Gilbert, George Kirby looking to be really good again next year. And guys like Bryce Miller coming up, Brian Wu, who is really good. And I remember he had a great start against the Yankees last summer. I mean, not great for me as a Yankees fan, but he's a really good guy going forward. And I think, like, overall, this Mariners team is definitely a second place team, probably a playoff team, if everything goes right for them. Next up, we got the Angels, man. The Angels are they have fallen apart, dude. Like, they haven't really acquired anything this offseason. Just a lot. Maybe some depth pieces, but this lineup is, like, just not looking too good. I mean, Brandon Drury is pretty good. Mike Trout's obviously awesome, but he does have injury concerns. But a lot of this lineup is just not getting anyone too excited. Anthony Rendon just doesn't really even want to play anymore. It's not good, man. It's not good. Yeah, and these backup guys aren't too exciting either. So about that. And damn, bro, this rotation is just not getting me too excited. Like, Reed Detmers as your ace. I know he threw a no-hitter a couple of years ago, but he's not that good. Griffin Canning, Patrick Sandoval. Like, Tyler Anderson could be pretty good, not doesn't have some good projections, 4.79 ERA, but this rotation's never been good the last few years, even when they've had a good lineup. I just don't really think they're a good team right now. So I think we gotta project them at a fourth place finish, just considering who's next. So next we got the Houston Astros here. Well, the Houston Astros, they snuck in, won the division last year. They still have a really good lineup, though they lost in the ALCS. I think this team is really poised for another great year. Jose Altuve just signed a big extension. Bregman's still really good. Alvarez is obviously awesome. Abreu's going to be great, I feel, in his second year. Kyle Tucker, Yanai Diaz is also really good at the catcher spot. They haven't had some great offensive production out of the catcher spot before, but I think that Diaz can really step up there, and a great way to round out the lineup with McCormick, Pena. And then this starting rotation is just really good as well. I mean, Verlander's getting up there in age, but I think he can still produce a pretty good year. Valdez is really good. Javier throwing that no-hitter back in the 2022 World Series. Hunter Brown, Jose Urquidy. I mean, maybe not the best rotation in the American League, but this can definitely hold its own in the playoffs, and I definitely think they'll get there yet again. So I think we got to project them for a first place finish here. Next up, we got the Oakland A's, man. I don't even have to pull up their depth chart there. We know how bad this team is. They didn't improve. I'm projecting them for more than 100 losses again this year. I don't see a lot out of this team. Of course, the last place finish. Next up, got the defending champ World Series winners, the Texas Rangers. And the Texas Rangers, they've had a weird thing with their TV deal going through. But that was kind of weird. But where are your Rangers? Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't feel so good about the Rangers as much this year, man. Like, they still got a really good lineup. Simeon, Seager, Garcia, Carter's really good. Young, Lau, Heim, White, Langford's going to come up. Leo Tavares is great in center field. Like, this lineup is still very good. I know I feel like they got a little bit lucky. They were a little ahead of their time last year. I know they might regress a little bit, but I know. Maybe I'm just mad they won the World Series, but... And then, looking at their starting rotation, we still got some good guys there. Nate Eovaldi, John Gray's pretty good. Andrew Heaney hopefully does well again. But this rotation in its entirety just isn't looking too good. Like, Jacob deGrom's not there. I mean, Eovaldi's great. I'm not going to lie, but, like, this whole rotation as a whole feels pretty average to me. I know if we can, like, hold its own in some big playoff games. And, yeah, for their bullpen, they added David Robertson, who's really good. You got other good guys like Jose Leclerc, Kirby Yates. Josh Sborz was really good in the playoffs last year. I think this is a pretty good bullpen, but I think overall they're a bit of a second place team here. I know these aren't like, it's not even, but I think we kind of have to do it this way. So next up we got the Kansas City Royals. And honestly, guys, now that I'm thinking about it, I think we're going to make this a two-parter. We'll have a National League video coming out later this week. But this video is getting a little long, so I think we're going to just do the AL Central and finish up this video. So next up, we got the Kansas City Royals. And they've made some good additions. Let's go look at their additions. Yeah, here we go. So we obviously have Witt with that big extension. And they got a lot of other good guys for that lineup. We got Renfroe, should be really good. We got Witt with that big contract. And we also got some good guys in the starting rotation. That's where they really improved with Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo. As their two big additions there. And those I think will really help hold down a bit of a younger rotation led by Cole Reagans. Guys like Brady Singer didn't have a great year last year, but I think he can bounce back. This team is much improved from last year, I think, but I still think they're a couple years away from contending with a good squad. So I think we got to put them with a fourth place finish. Okay, here we go. So next up we got the Cleveland Guardians. I know, man. There's not much to be excited about with the Cleveland Guardians here. I mean, their lineup is just not that scary, if we're being honest here. Like, Stephen Kwan's good, Jimenez pretty good, Ramirez, Naylor. Those are some good guys, but Ramon Laureano in the fifth spot is just not too exciting. Miles Straw isn't very good. I mean, relying on some young guys, Kyle Mansardo was probably going to come up, Brian Rocchio, I think that's how you pronounce his name. It just doesn't feel quite as good as it used to be. And when we're looking at their starting rotation, that's where you start to like this team a little more. A lot of young guys in that rotation. Shane Bieber might get traded. I don't really think he will, but he's still really good. You got Tristan McKenzie, Tanner Bybee was very good last year as well. Logan Allen, Gavin Williams got a few starts. I think they're going to be good this year. Just relying on a lot of young arms in that rotation. And I know if you can always rely on that, especially if they have things like innings limits, like coming out of the minor leagues. And then this bullpen, I mean, you got some good guys. You got Emmanuel Clase, they got Scott Barlow. A lot of good guys here. James Karinchak, I mean, he's not as good without the sticky stuff anymore, but he can still be good at times. And I think that this is a pretty good bullpen. Maybe not the best, but I think it still can hold its own if these young pitchers can keep it up. With all that being said, I think they got to be projected for a third place finish. I just don't see them really beating the two teams ahead of them. Next up, we got the Chicago White Sox. Man, jeez, they were bad last year. Like, oh my god. Let's look at their depth chart here. It is just not looking good over on the south side, man. I mean, other than Luis Robert, this lineup is not great. I mean, you got Eloy Jimenez, but other than those two guys, I'm just not too excited about this lineup. I mean, Benintendi is good, I guess, as your leadoff guy, but he's just not going to really hit any homers. Get on base a little bit, but well, when they sign him to a big deal, that's not really what you're looking for. And then the starting rotation, you got Cease. He might get traded. I know, after the Orioles got Burns, I don't really think so. And I think he's a pretty good guy, but other than him, this rotation is just not looking too good. They got Soroka and Flex in this offseason, both not really that good anymore, at least. Michael Kopech, projected for a 5 ERA. And with that lineup, I just really don't think this team is going places this year. I think they get a 5th place finish from me. Okay, I mean, next here we got the Detroit Tigers. The Tigers, they weren't great last year, but they also weren't too bad. So we're looking at a pretty intriguing lineup right here. Like Riley Green, really good, I think. Spencer Torkelson has been improving. Kerry Carpenter as well. You got good guys like Mark Hama that fill out this lineup. I mean, Baez kind of stinks, but I mean, I think if they can add like one more guy into that lineup, it can do some good things next year. And then we got this rotation, Tariq Skubal, have a really good year next year with a 3.47 ERA. Jack Flaherty, I feel like, is going to bounce back. They made some good additions with Kenta Maeda, who's a solid guy, will eat up some innings. And you got younger guys like Matt Manning and Reese Olson, who I think can be pretty good in the coming years. The projections aren't too high on them, but I think they might be good like 2025 going forward. That being said, I don't think the Tigers are there quite just yet. I think I'm going to give them a 3rd place finish. You could toss it up between the Guardians and Tigers. For the last team in this video, we're going to go with the Minnesota Twins. Because we're just going to leave the National League for later. This video is taking a while. So, the Twins are a pretty intriguing team. I mean, they did lose quite a few pieces. Where the hell are you, Twins? Twins, here we go. We got like a pretty good lineup here. Edouard Julien, he's a great player. You got Royce Lewis, Byron Buxton, if he can stay on the field, is good. Max Kepler, a good middle of the order guy. Correa will hopefully bounce back a bit next year. I mean, Santana, didn't even know they acquired him, but he's pretty good even if he's getting older. You got Ryan Jeffers, who might not be great beyond the plate, but he's projected to have a pretty good offensive year. Alex Kirilloff, Maxwell. You've got a pretty good lineup here, right? And the rotation, led by Pablo Lopez, sorry, they did lose Sonny Gray, who finished second in the Cy Young voting last year. He was a big part of that team making it to the playoffs, and losing him will definitely hurt, but you still got guys like Pablo Lopez, who's really good. Joe Ryan was really good last year. And then other guys like Bailey Ober, Chris Paddock, Louis Varland. Maybe not the nicest looking rotation on paper, but I think they can really hold it down this season, especially if we can have Lopez and Ryan recreate their success along with this good lineup. And I think that being said, I think in that weak division, you got to put them in first place here. So these are my AL rankings. I know it's not completely even, but some teams I think could be a toss-up between third and second. So let me know what you think of my rankings. Do you disagree? Do you agree?